Welcome to our podcast. My name is Amelia.
My name is Sherrick, and this is Amelia.
And Sherrick, what are you doing?
As we've discussed, it is everything and nothing. So strap in, bitches, we're going shopping.
That is the second Mean Girls reference I've heard today.
I'm glad I could pull it, but I'm a little upset that I wasn't the first.
If it helps, it was on TV. So
okay, fair enough. Goddamn TV, fuck you. I'm so upset. So upset. So this is our variety podcast. We talk about nostalgia. We talk about pop culture. We're not just going to be like pining about the 90s and being like, back in our day, things were so much better, because they weren't. So we just talk about stuff. We analyze it. We have a good time. We are friends, and we wanted an excuse to chat with each other. Please, for the love of God, tell me you're not starting with episode 4, because you may want to go back a couple. So, we've already said our names and things of that nature. So let's just kind of dive into it. And Amelia, want to tell me about your week?
Sure. So I feel like this week has been super uneventful. But yesterday, so I do operations and finance stuff, and HR stuff for a small nonprofit, and our payroll company that we got rid of in the middle of last year failed to do our W-2s for taxes. And after, which, if you know anything, they were due at the end of January, and it's almost the end of February.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. They finally sent us some data, not the actual documents, just some data. So I spent the entire day yesterday running to Office Max, getting the forms and software, and data entering everybody's W-2s.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That is
Luckily,
big jinkies.
Luckily, it was 37, not like 100 or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like, thank God we got rid of them, because like it's this shit. Why? So yeah, not exactly the happiest or the funniest of stories, but
wow,
this was what I was raging about all day yesterday. So
oh yikes! I mean, I can't even I've only had like W-2 issues once, and it was a company that I previously worked for, where they're based in Minnesota, but I obviously live in Wisconsin, and they sent me my W-2 like 2 years in a row, being like, "Hey, you made some money in Minnesota," and I'm like, no, I did not. So can you please get that correct? And they would be like, yeah, we can get it correct. It's just going to take us like, I don't know, like 4 to 6 weeks to fix it, because we have a lot of people we're dealing with. And it's like, no, like I could understand if it was my goof up and I gave you the wrong info and I had to be like, hey, can you amend this? That's one thing. But like, to me, if it's your goof up, you should stop what you're doing and be like, hey, like,
yep,
I'm going to fix this, because like, I understand it's like a larger company, but like,
yeah,
you're throwing and both times it's ended up being fine. So really, I'm just like whining into the wind. But like, it's just like, that's a freak out moment when you're just oh, why did you send me 2 W-2s? Why is half of my paycheck in Wisconsin and half of it in Minnesota? Yeah. And then like last time, it was like the pettiest thing. They were just like, you made all of your money in Wisconsin except for like $160. And it's like, cool. Now I have to like fix this, because even though to you it's like $160, to me it's way more than that. But
right.
Anyway.
Yeah. And the thing is that we have several staff people who work for us part-time and are also farmers.
Oh, okay.
And farm taxes are due March 1.
Okay. Ooh, yikes. That's coming up.
Yeah. So I've been getting frantic calls saying like, where's our tax stuff? Where's our tax stuff? Where's our tax stuff? Because we have to file our taxes in a week, not in 6 weeks or 2 months. Yeah. So, yeah, that was the fire I put out yesterday.
Welcome to Amelia and Sherrick. What are you doing? A tax podcast. No, please don't believe that. No, we'll get booted.
I promise this is the only tax story I will tell.
Yeah. And I think that's the only one that I've really got. So, as far as my week, I went to an escape room in town, and it was not the one that I used to work at because that would have been super boring. With a friend, a couple of friends, and they had some friends in town. So we went in and we did their hardest room, and I think we got out with at least 18 minutes to spare. So that was a pretty cool
What's
deal. It ended up being a room that one of my favorite podcasters, when they were in town doing a live show, they had done it. And they have like a wall where if you get out with more than 10 minutes to spare, you get to write your name on the wall or whatever. Um, and so they wrote their name on the wall, but then the manager like put acrylic over it. So we finished it, and the guy that was running it was like, "Hey, you get to like write your name on the wall, cool." So the person that organized the thing is a somewhat well known Twitch streamer. I say somewhat because I'm not sure exactly how popular he is. He's popular for sure, but like I don't know exactly how far his reach is. So there is that. But he like we like all like advertised his Twitch channel. We put our team name as his Twitch URL, and then like one of us looked and we're like, "What is that brick that's like acrylic over?" And they were like, "Oh, well," like the guy was like, "Oh, it's like a popular podcast, like my brother and me." And I was like, "Oh, they were here and they let you. Oh, that's so cool." So I did that, and then went to a friend's birthday party. Afterwards, I was like very very hungry, so I was like, "I'm gonna go to Popeyes. I'm gonna get that chicken sandwich because uh, it's real good in my opinion." So I get there, and the car like kind of pulls in front of me into the drive-through, and it's about like 11:15 at night, 11 maybe 11:20, and they close at midnight. And then that person gets up to the speaker and then like waits 3 seconds, and then they pull away. And I was like, "Oh, all right, cool. I'm gonna get my food." Maybe they just decided they didn't want anything, or maybe like the chicken sandwich is sold out. It's happened. So I pull up, and then I just hear, "Really sorry for the inconvenience," and I'm like, okay. I'm assuming that she's telling me that the chicken sandwich is out, and so I was like looking at the menu, and I was just like, I'm hungry enough to just get something as opposed to just be like, "Oh, you don't have what I want, so I'm just gonna leave." So I'm like, I'll get the chicken tenders. And then she like clears her throat and she's like, "No, I'm really sorry, sir. I said that the car in front of you has taken all of our food. We have no food left." And then I like look ahead, and there's like a blue minivan at the window, just like in park, like off, like there's no exhaust or anything running. And I'm like, so you mean to tell me
what?
this van pulled up and went, "Give me all your food. I'll pay for all of it." And
Oh my god.
I was like, so either that's the case, or they just really didn't want to make any more food because they were like, "Well, it's kind of close to closing time,"
Uh-huh.
uh, which I was like, "Okay, maybe," but come on, y'all, you really going? Okay, fine, sure, whatever you say, I'll take your word for it. But
Oh my
so
god, that's
yeah,
insane. Either
that
way,
was
that's insane.
that was my story. I was just like, so obviously I pulled away because I was like, well, there's no point in me being here if you're not going to give me literally anything.
Yep.
Um, and like
Well,
I guess there was somebody just like one of the workers just like leaned up against the building talking to them while they were just waiting for this massive amount of food to like be delivered to them. So
my
yeah,
god.
that happened.
Now I want to know what they needed all that food for.
I do too, because it was like I was like, is this like a situation where like they just had like some friends come over and like we're just like, "Oh, cool, we'll just quick grab some food, do some late night movies," or as a perfect segue into our topic for today, were they smoking some the lady named Mary Jane? Did they have some ganja perhaps? It is as of this recording legal in our neighboring state to the south, but not quite here in Wisconsin. So maybe they thought they would get some food and just have themselves a little bud, a little herb, some
We
things to think.
sound 85 years old.
That was the goal. So, if
Yes.
you did not read the title of the episode, which may be very nonsensical, so who knows really, but we're going to talk about some anti-drug PSAs, specifically some ones from the 90s that I just hit Amelia up and I was like, remember these fucking crazy ass commercials from like the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and like all the like that kind of stuff?
Yes.
Because these are all just great. So
Yes.
um,
I
So
love the fact that earlier when you were giving like an update or an overview of what this podcast is about, you said we
mhm.
won't always be talking about 90s nostalgia, but we are today. So
Today is not one of those days,
yep,
bitches.
yep, yep. So, but I love it. Yeah, we
As a as a quick
Sherrick sent me
aside,
a playlist and I watched it and it will be
yeah.
linked in the show notes.
Mhm.
And we also thought of a couple others that weren't on the playlist that we remembered. So
Yeah. As a
yeah.
quick aside, I said bitches at such a frequency that my teeth literally vibrated, and I was like, "Oh wow, that was, that was a powerful,
That was a
powerful
powerful
bitches."
bitch.
I was like, "Bitch, whoa, did it again!" All right, I had to mention that I am not smoking anything. I'm not smoking any ganja. I'm not smoking any herb. None of that. That's
No.
not my style. But okay, so I want to start with the one that you sent me because like I
Okay.
kind of went off of that and then kind of just like I had my other notes, but just to stay in sync. Amelia
Yes.
was like, "This, there's this one that I saw that I have to talk about." So
Yes.
let's go with that one.
Okay. Yes. So, yeah, I had accidentally let the thing keep running after the playlist, so I saw this one as well, because it just autoplayed, and I remember it so vividly
Mm-hmm.
from my childhood. And it's this commercial where this guy in like a collared shirt and tie comes in and sets his briefcase down in the living room and sits down on the couch and then, does some heroin. So, um,
Like you do.
like you do. And I feel like, and I remember this like song in the background, like this very grunge 90s song about
Mm-hmm.
not being an addict is playing in the background and it's so dramatic, which is
Yes.
the theme of most of these commercials.
Yes.
Um, and and like there's text that comes up on the screen that's like, if he's not an addict, what is he? And like all this shit. And it's just so like the problem with these commercials is that they're so over dramatic and the way
Yes.
they're shot and scripted and whatever. They're just so ridiculous that you want to laugh, but at the same time, like obviously being addicted to heroin is not funny. It's
Mm-hmm.
not an okay thing, but
Yeah.
like yeah, I remember that so vividly and especially like the song in the background and this just
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That's very interesting because I don't think I think when you sent it to me it was the first time I'd ever seen it.
Oh,
But
okay.
so I was like I'm curious as to what Amelia thinks about this one because I was like, well, I think it's, to me, like you said, it's like it's not a funny topic, but it's done in such a way that it is amusing because like there's text that's like, he's my dad, he's my accountant, he's my husband, he's my so and so, he's
Mm-hmm.
an addict. And then it's like, well, if he's not an addict, or sorry, he's not an addict. I was like, well, if he's not an addict, then what is he? And the like, it's shot in that 90s way of like, I'm trying to like describe it properly where like, he's moving around, but there's like aliasing, like of tracing of him, like where he goes, like
Mm-hmm.
there's like a streak of him that's like going behind.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like jump cut to him like on the couch and he's got like his sleeves rolled up, but he's still got his like dress shirt on and he's scratching and convulsing. And then he's like wiping his head and there's sweat on his brow and like, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, and it's like talking about all the things that he is while he's just getting high as shit. Just
Yep.
like,
Yep. Yep. And yeah, a lot of these commercials have that very specific 90s style, like you said, um, where it's like, it's kind of shadowy. It's very like, it's not in black and white, but
mm-mm.
it's very washed out.
Yes.
Um, and like it's slow motion a little bit at times
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of camera angles like from the bottom up and like it just I 90s commercials are so something.
And a lot of 90s, this stuff that was broadcast in the 90s, just a lot of it was fucking like just crazy.
Yes.
um i
Yep.
i, I want to transition out of that one into another grunge commercial. I don't,
Hmm.
did you check the Everclear one?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so that's the one that I wanted to talk about next because it was like the entirety of the band of Everclear at the time, which is just like Art Alexa, Alexis, Alexakis. I can't say his last name. He's the main singer. He's the main singer guitarist for Everclear. Like him and two other dudes, and they could not be bothered to be doing this commercial. Like they were just
Right.
like, you're fucking paying us. All right. Like we'll take your money, but we're going to do it our way. Like we're not going to do it however you think we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts with like a guitar riff, and then the other two members not named are I'm gonna call him Alexicus because I'm probably just gonna for ease of use, so I'm not just stumbling over it every time. He's standing in the middle of these two dudes, and they're doing like this hand motion, like "Hey, what's up, dude?" And then like that's all they pretty much do for the entire commercial. Like there's different shots, and they'll be standing in the background, like either with like their arms crossed or their hands on their hips, or they're like leaned up against a wall looking away from the camera. And Art's the only one talking. And he's
Mm-hmm.
just like, he's basically like, yeah, I wanted to do drugs and I did them and it was a bad idea. That was crazy. I
Yeah.
could have like made like way more of myself. Sad.
Yep.
Anyway,
And then
don't listen to us. Listen to yourself. That's all I
yep.
have to say.
Yep. And then he talks about like being like a musician cliche or something.
Yeah. But the literally last thing on the commercial is this Art saying, I don't know what else to say.
It's because of all the drugs. He doesn't know what to say.
But it just like couple it with the fact like he just like didn't want to be there, and he's just like, yeah, don't do drugs or don't listen to us. I don't know. Listen to
Yeah.
yourself. I don't know what
Yep.
else to say.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
That
Oh
fucking
man.
got me. Like I had to walk away. I was just like, fucking Art. You're just like, I don't know what else to say. Do drugs or don't. I don't care. I'm not your dad.
Right. Right. Except for those two, I feel like most of them were with kids.
Yes.
So it was all
Yeah.
about like kids don't do drugs, and they'd show kids younger and younger and be like, even kids this young are being offered drugs and stuff, and
Yeah.
parents talk to your kids about drugs and
Mm-hmm.
um
To
I,
transition, sorry, to
no, go
transition,
for it.
the next one that I wanted to hit on real quick, and then I'll kind of let you take the reins, is the school picture one. Because
Yes, I was just gonna say that.
I was
Yes.
like, these fucking fourth graders, like, okay, so
Not even. They were
I
like
was,
8 or
okay,
something.
okay, I was gonna say, like, thank you, because I was like, my ability to, like, gauge how old kids are, especially in the 90s, was, like, just
Oh yeah, I could be
incapable.
totally wrong, but I feel
But
like they were really young.
yeah, they look hella young, and they're like all gathered in the gym for a school picture, like as a class. Which let me tell you, like we did not do. I went to private schools pretty much all my like my education career, so to speak. But like I can like there were of course were like hey like dare programs and stuff like that, but like also like in my neighborhood or any of that kind of stuff, no one was like offering us like me or any of my friends drugs like at
Mm-hmm.
any point. Like I'm not talking about like as a kid. I'm like I have literally been offered like marijuana, like I want to say maybe twice in my life, and both of those times were in college.
Mm-hmm.
So like the dare program, I was just like, okay, well, this is something we're supposed to do, but I'm going to do it. But like these kids look hella young, and they're
Mm-hmm.
doing like the slow motion dramatic bit where like these kids are laughing, but it looks like sinister because this kid is like open mouth, just full on guffawing, but it's in slow motion. So it's like the oh, 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 oh.
Mm-hmm.
And then the person in the background's like, can you spot the drug pusher in this picture? And it's like, they're all like 7, 8 years old, my dude. Like, no.
Right. Yeah. They're like, yeah, even kids this young or whatever. And then I put this in my notes. Someone they think is their friend could be giving this to them or pushing this on them. And I was like, that is so just like, I mean, not that it's out of the realm of possibility or whatever,
Right.
but just the way that 90s commercials made it sound like literally every 8-year-old was pushing drugs.
Mm-hmm. And a majority of these commercials are they were a part of the Partnership for a Drug-Free America. It was their campaign. So
Yep.
it was like a company essentially. It was just like we're going to put out all these different kinds of commercials so we can just try as many different tactics as we possibly can to like the war on
Mm-hmm.
drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And my notes after that first one was like Sharon was in charge of marketing on this. She had heard from a friend of a friend that like little Billy was like offered a marijuana cigarette, which was probably like a candy cigarette on the playground that they were just like, this is drugs. And she was like, oh, we need the kids are so young nowadays and they're drug mules for all these big, these big drug kingpins, and we have to stop them. And it's like, Shannon,
Mm-hmm.
it's fucking like it was a candy cigarette, my dude. Like, just chill.
Yeah.
Like, but that's what I wrote down because I was like, this commercial to me, not saying like, obviously it had to reach somebody because it ran for quite a while, but like a lot of these
Mm-hmm.
commercials, I was just like, I mean, I saw them, but nobody was
Yeah.
offering me nothing. But
Right. Yeah, no. I still to this day am not really sure anyone has offered me drugs. So,
you're not sure. They walk away from a conversation with you and they're just like, man, she
well,
just really didn't want those drugs. And you were just like, that was a nice, wholesome conversation.
mainly it's just because like I knew people in college who had them. So if I
Yeah.
wanted them, I maybe could have asked
Mm-hmm.
and gotten them, but I don't remember them ever actually like asking me if I wanted any.
Yeah. And I
So,
feel like when we were in college, people were just chill enough to be like, do you want it or not?
yeah,
Like, it's expensive. So, like, I'm not going to push it
right.
on you.
Yeah,
Like,
I
if
mean,
you,
I had a friend in college, not I won't name,
mm-hmm.
who both parents separately grew marijuana.
Okay.
So yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure if I wanted any, I could get that from her, but I never wanted any and she never offered like straight up offered it to me. So yeah, I don't really feel like I've ever been quote unquote offered any drugs, which I don't know what that says about me, but I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um yeah, I another series of ads in this that I really enjoyed were these ads where these like preteens and teenagers would say like they told me I wouldn't get addicted after one hit or like I could just try it once and this wouldn't happen or they said
Mm-hmm.
like Ritalin would just help me focus in school and then it always ends with they lied.
Just the devious ass, like this, the utter betrayal on these kids' faces.
Yes,
Like, it's
yes.
not funny, but it is funny because it's like,
Yeah, right. They lied.
mm-hmm. And it's
One
like,
thing, oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
One thing that I really enjoyed about this, not just those commercials, but all of this playlist is like I felt like they did a pretty good job of like mixing it up. So like,
Mm-hmm.
you got commercials about Ritalin and you got pictures about huffing and you got commercials about sniffing glue
Mm-hmm.
and heroin and coke and marijuana, of course. But like I just, a wide range of stuff. Oh, there's one about LSD, I remember. Um, and
I'm,
that one I really enjoyed because one of the things the guy said in that commercial was reality is the prison of our minds. Which is just like so dramatic and perfect for a commercial about LSD. But I
right.
also but also it kind of makes me go, it kind of is, man.
So like when I saw that one, the only thing I wrote down was, so is this a pro LSD ad or
Right,
no? Because like
right.
you saying that is like, well, if this is the prison, then I might want to escape. Where the hell LSD at? No, like
Right, yeah,
obviously,
no,
if
seriously.
you are a young person who is easily influenced, do not take our advice. Obviously, don't take
No,
drugs,
no.
at least
Kids
without
don't do
parental
drugs.
consent.
Stay in
Unless you,
school.
yeah, talk to your parents. Don't do drugs.
Okay, so that brings me to a point.
Yeah.
Did your guardian ever talk to you about drugs?
Hell no to the
Parents,
no, no,
anybody?
no.
Yeah.
Hell to the no. No, the only person that did was my grandmother, and she basically just told me about a member of the family that was doing it, and then I looked at that particular member of the family, and I was like, yeah, I'm straight. I'm good. Don't need it. Not that I was like ever curious, but I was just like, oh no, I'm okay. They
Yeah.
can have it. They can have all of it. I don't need a drop. I'm
Yep.
good.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
no, my parents never ever talked to me about drugs or sex or any of that stuff.
mhm.
And part of me is like, oh, thank God. Like, I was smart enough to learn about all that stuff in school and other places and not partake in dangerous activities, quote unquote. But at the same time, I also feel like it has made those topics a little more taboo to me.
Mhm.
This now I'm getting a little bit into therapy, but But like, I feel like because they never talked to me about that kind of stuff or talked about that stuff around me,
Hmm.
that it's like, oh, it's taboo, so like I'm not supposed to talk about those things. So
Yeah.
that's been an interesting thing in my adult life, but
Dealing with
uh,
that now.
yeah. But yeah, the other commercial that we have to talk about
Hmm.
is the Rachel Lee Cook commercial.
Oh, is that the
This
this
is
is
your
your brain?
brain. This is your
Yeah.
brain
Okay.
on heroin.
Okay. I did not know that was Rachel Lee Cook. So when you
Okay.
said Rachel Lee Cook, I was like, fuck, which one is that?
Yes. Sorry.
No, you're
Yes.
fine.
So
You're fine. I'm ready for it. Let's go.
yeah.
Hit it up.
So it's a commercial. She's holding an egg and she says, "This is your brain." And then she holds up a frying pan and was like, "This is heroin." And then like smashes the egg with it. And then she starts smashing up like the entire kitchen with it and is like, "See, but heroin doesn't just affect you, it affects your family and your friends and like all this shit." And it is
Mhm.
just like, at least to me, and I feel like to some people, is just iconic. It is this
Yes.
iconic commercial that everybody remembers from the 90s.
Yep, yep, yep. Like I said, I didn't know who Rachel Lee Cook was in relation to this, but I, like when you
Mm-hmm.
were like, "This is your brain," like that's all you had to say, and I knew
Yep.
exactly what you were talking about.
Yep.
Um, the one note that I wrote down for that one was when she says at the end, "Any question?" I was like raising my hand, like, "Yeah, I have one question. Who the fuck let you trash their diner like this? They're gonna be pissed when they come back." They're gonna be so fucking mad. It's like,
Yep.
bitch, we said you could have one egg. Like, what the fuck is all this? We let you smash one egg, which I am to this day convinced was like the most prop ass egg because I was like, I've
Oh,
smashed an
yeah.
egg or two in my day and has not fucking run like that. It was like just the most
Oh, yeah.
runny, wet,
Oh, yeah,
disgusting
yeah, yeah.
ass. Like
Oh, I'm
all of the
sure.
eggshell pieces were flat, and I was like, that's not how eggshells work, but sure.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
that one. I mean, it definitely is iconic, like you said, and like she taught, like she just like smashes the egg, but then she gains an intensity about like these are your friends, and this is your money, and this is like all that kind of stuff, and it's like it really. I mean, it's not. She's not wrong. Like it
No.
can't like drugs, and not obviously not to become a PSA for anti-drug shit ourselves, but like that shit can and will ruin your life. Like
Oh, yeah. Like, we don't want to let you think at any point that we think that drugs are okay or unfunny or, uh,
imagine in 2020 we have to put this disclaimer in our
yes,
own
of
podcast
course.
where we're making fun of
Um,
anti-drug PSAs.
Yes. The only reason we're making fun of them is because of their quality. Like,
Yes.
their quality is not great. We remember them so vividly from our childhoods, and like, they're just the way that they're
Mhm.
done is so dramatic that it's funny, and I can't help but laugh at a lot of them.
Yeah.
Um,
The
but
the
yeah,
other one
this
that's
one,
kind of
oh,
iconic, sorry to mention, is the drowning one. I don't know.
oh,
It's the girl and she's in her room and it was talking about like huffing glue and it's like
oh,
basically
yeah,
being
yeah,
like,
yeah.
hey, your brain when you're doing this shit isn't getting oxygen, so it thinks you're drowning. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember being fucking terrified because like uh, I remember being terrified because like it was all of a sudden just a deluge of water just hits her room and it fills
Mm-hmm.
up and she's like trying to get out and it's
Mm-hmm.
like to me like I have a very real fear of drowning, so like that was I was just like, oh shit, like fucking.
Yeah.
And then they like did the bit where like the doll was just like floating in the water like lifelessly and I was just like fucking yikes.
Yeah. Yeah. That one, yeah, that one's kind of scary.
Yeah, I remember like having to look away because that scared the shit out of me as a kid. I
Hmm.
was like,
Hmm.
so some of these did their job because they were like, don't fucking do this. Um,
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was such a do-gooder as a kid, and probably now.
yeah, same.
That like Dare and all this kind of stuff did scare me off from ever wanting to do drugs. So, like, it worked. I was like, you
Hmm.
can't, it's bad. But not to take it back, but I have to say one more thing about the This Is Your Brain commercial
Yeah, go for it.
because I remember hearing about it again a few years ago. So I looked it up And yes, indeed, in 2017, Rachel Lee Cook used those commercials because there were more than one.
Hmm.
There were other "This Is Your Brain on Drugs" commercials that she didn't do.
Yeah.
But nobody remembers those because who cares? But yeah, in 2017, they did another commercial using footage from those old commercials, and but then it says, this is what Wikipedia says. The PSA critiqued the war on drugs and its contribution to mass incarceration, structural racism, and poverty. It was posted on YouTube on April 20th, 2017, in recognition of 420.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I remember it. I remember that this happened, but I do not remember that it was like that.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping that's real and not some fucking
Yeah.
idiot on Wikipedia. But no, it does not look like it. I
A,
followed the link.
yeah. A quick social commentary I wanted to make on this is that, like, at least from the majority that I remember from this playlist, like it did I would say it focused more on like, and this is probably, by design, but it focused more on like suburban white kids than it really did like on like members of the black community. Like there's a
Oh
couple
yeah.
that are like in there, and I can only really remember like maybe like one of them off the top of my head where they portrayed like a black person as a drug
Mm-hmm.
pusher as opposed to like
Mm-hmm.
it being like some like older like pre-high school kid.
Mm-hmm.
There was the one who it's like, and I remember it actually was kind of clever because it was like he was on a basketball like court and he was like talking to the camera and being like, "Hey moms, thanks for like not talking to your kids about drugs. Like I really appreciate it." And like you would think that, oh, my baby's too young or whatever, but once they get a fix, they'll like lie, cheat, and steal. And then like the line that I was like, oh, that was fucking clever. He's like, I love it when I get first crack at him. And I was like, first crack and also the first crack. See what they did there?
Yep.
Corny as shit. But
Yep.
like I was just like, oh wow, all right. I see what you did there.
Yep. Yeah. That's okay. So I'm looking this up, and there's an article on Rolling Stone.
Mm-hmm.
It talks about it that in this new, it's 3 years old now, but um commercial, it starts with Rachel Lee Cook holding up a white egg and saying that it represents one of millions of Americans who uses drugs and never gets arrested, and then
Mm-hmm.
picks up a brown egg and says this American is several times more likely to be charged with a drug crime. And then and,
Wow.
and then the end of it says the war on drugs is ruining people's lives. It fuels mass incarceration. It targets people of color in greater numbers than their white counterparts. It cripples communities. It costs billions, and it doesn't work. Any questions?
Ooh.
Yeah. So check that out, everybody.
Big
'Cause,
old wow.
yeah, that's kind of great. Um, so yeah,
That one hit me heavy.
yeah.
On that same kind of vein, there was a one that was called The Long Way Home,
Okay.
which was it's a black and white commercial and it's like it's showing like a row of fences and then you see a kid like toss his book bag over and then he hops the fence.
Oh yes,
You know what I'm talking about?
yes.
Okay, so he basically is narrating it and talking about like, well, my teacher says like, just don't do drugs and like, the basically he's not saying the DARE program, but like the police officer says not to do this, that, and the other thing. And you're seeing him and he's like, it's like he's running away from something. And I was just like, oh shit, because I don't remember seeing this one growing up. So this is my
I
first crack
definitely
at
do.
it. And I was like, what the fuck is going to be chasing him? Is it going to be like a giant, like a dude like dressed as a doobie? Like what is going to be coming? But then they're like showing him and he's talking about how like it's like easy for them to be like, hey, just don't do drugs. And it's like, and then you see him running and then you see like a group of like black youths gathered around a vehicle across the street and one of them sees the kid running and kind of just like looks over in his direction and he's like, well, they're not going to basically he's like, well, they're not going to be there when it happens and these people that are offering it don't take no for an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, that is like the fucking truth of it. And I was like, this one wasn't funny in any regard. Obviously I was just making light of it for the sake of the podcast, but like
Mm-hmm.
it's very serious and it's like it's so easy, especially for like parents and people who are not placed under this pressure as a kid, where we're at least in our society then and maybe also now, it's like it's kind of not becoming that way now, but like you were taught to be like, hey, these people are your elders, you respect them, you listen to them, you obey them. So like when a
Mm-hmm.
kid that's like, 7, 8 years your senior comes up and says, hey, I want to talk to you, you feel powerless. Like you feel like
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get in trouble just for refusing them or running away. So it was like like it's easy for them to say, hey, don't do drugs, but like when you're in the moment, that's not the case. Like
Right.
you don't really have that. Like your sense of self agency and all that stuff is taken away from you just by virtue of being in that situation.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I remember a lot of this discussion as a kid was, yeah, about that, about peer pressure. The words peer pressure, I feel like I heard a million times in my
Mm-hmm.
childhood. And it's real. I mean, it is real. And it's not just a thing that happens to kids. Um, there are a lot of power dynamics at play in adult lives too that, yeah,
Right.
right, can make things difficult. But yeah, I liked that one. I felt like this. I can't remember specifically what commercials. I mean, I remember some of these commercials as a kid. I know I didn't see all of them, but I don't remember if like the ones I saw were mainly of white people or what, but I felt like this playlist anyway had a pretty wide variety of people in it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that it wasn't all like drugs or a white collar thing, although they did have a commercial about that.
Yeah.
Um, or that drugs are only a like inner city black person thing. Like I felt
Right.
like they tried to maybe not within a commercial, but like as a collection tried to make a variety of commercials about
Yeah. And
the different how drugs affect everybody essentially.
yeah. And I was just gonna like kind of point out is that I felt like it wasn't necessarily like I wasn't necessarily patting it on the back,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I felt like these commercials were gonna be targeted towards like suburban affluent neighborhoods. So like of
Mm-hmm.
course they're gonna be like, hey, your friend is so and so, and
Right.
they're like the one that I can point out was the house party, the party time one with
Mm-hmm.
Mike and his like great value Justin Taylor Thomas ass haircut. He's like, because they're showing the party and like literally none of the kids in this thing, except for the one chick who looked like Ramona Flowers before her time, can dance. They're all like
Mm-hmm.
doing like a running motion with their arms or just moving their arms in an odd angle. And I was like looking around and I'm like, wait, what fucking house party in the 90s has a lighting system? Every single house
Right?
party that was filmed like for a commercial or movie in the
Right.
90s. Like,
Oh yeah.
because like if you go to an actual house party, no one's got fucking like light trellises up and like like
No.
that kind of shit. But he keeps going through the same door and seeing his friends, and he's like, and they're like, "Hey, Mike, you want some?" Like, obviously smoking bud, and he keeps thinking of like different excuses, and then like finally he just decides to stop the cycle because he keeps going like through the room like at a clockwise fashion, and then it shows him opening the original door, basically like he's going in a circle, and then finally he just goes like, it's just not for me, and like he's not pressured, the guy's just like, all right, and then he goes
Mm-hmm.
back through the door he just came through.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was like in the very, I mean it's a 30-second long commercial, but just like watching it over and over and over again, I remember there being like not nary a person of color that was at least
Oh
visible,
yeah. Oh
so
yeah.
it's like obviously, or the one where the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were involved.
Yes.
Which going to my notes, it's I was like, number one, do kids that young get lockers? Because he had to have been like under the age of like 8, the
I
kid
had a
that
locker
Joey.
from first grade on.
What
Yeah.
what is this, are you serious?
Maybe second grade. I know I had one in second grade and third grade and fourth
I
grade.
feel like I missed the fuck out. I didn't get a locker that young. But then the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show up on a TV. It's like basically like a classroom of kids like watching this happen and being like, "What should Joey do?" And they're like, "Tell that kid to get lost." And it's like obviously a kid that's like maybe like 2.5 grades or 3 grades higher than this little young Joey, and then pot, marijuana, like. Are you fucking kidding me? Like drug pusher, you're gonna just say that? Like just out and out, just be like, hey, I'm talking about drugs over here. Anyone? Anyone? I'm not using any code names at all. And then fucking oh my god. Just the line, drug dealers are dorks.
Yes, that was my favorite part. That was my favorite part.
Oh my
I can't remember
god.
which turtle it was, but saying drug dealers are dorks.
Oh my god.
It was
I
so
want to
good.
I want to say it was Donatello. I think it was.
Oh.
Someone's going to take away my TMNT card if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it was Donatello. He just goes, drug dealers are dorks. Don't even talk to them. I was like, God damn.
Okay,
Just,
okay, but I'm sorry. Like, are we really supposed to believe that like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were not doing drugs because all they
that's
did was eat
that's even
pizza,
funnier.
right? Like they're Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I'm supposed to believe there are no drugs involved in this situation.
I mean, it was ooze, way different than drugs.
Okay, sorry,
No,
sorry,
it's not.
sorry.
No, I was being hella sarcastic because obviously it was like some sort of radioactive chemical that made them mutant turtles. But yeah, and then the because it's like the kid that is offering young Joseph the drugs is like, "What are you, chicken?" And his comeback is, "I'm not a chicken. You're a turkey." And then he just turns, slams the fuck out of his locker, just stares this kid down, just brushes him with the shoulder and walks away. I was like, God damn, the swag on this kid.
Yep, yep.
It's like
Oh
he's
my
not even 10
god.
years old. He said, "You're a turkey. Just fuck out my face."
So good. So good. Oh man. All
I'm
right.
trying to think. I'll just kind of recap them because obviously we could go on and on and on.
Well, wait, I have
There's
one
oh,
more that I
go for
wanted
it.
to bring up.
Yeah, go for it.
This was my favorite one in that I feel like especially in light of like where we are at as a society about
Mm-hmm.
pot, this is just like so hilarious to me. Um but there's this one commercial where it looks like it's like Home Shopping Network or something.
Oh, yep. Okay. Yep.
And there's this like figurine that's supposed to be like a money, like a coin bank,
It's a
the
surfing monkey
surfing
bank. Yeah.
monkey coin bank. And there's this
Mm-hmm.
like woman, or I think, talking
Yeah.
over and talking about how like these are gonna sell out and you should buy one, whatever. And then you hear somebody call in and they're like, "You just bought 15 of these. Why did you want to do that?" And you like the dude is totally stoned because he's
Yeah.
like laughing and whatever. And they're like, and then it says like marijuana, an expensive habit. Expensive because you apparently buy stupid shit. Like, I mean, I guess I'm sure that happens.
Mm-hmm.
But like I love how that's the angle. It's not that this will ruin your life. It's not like this will fuck up your head or your
Yeah.
body. It's that you're gonna buy stupid shit like 15 surfing monkey piggy banks.
I mean, you just start giving them off for Christmas. You fucking did it. Congratulations. You got somebody a
Right.
great gift.
Right.
They're gonna be like, why did you give me, you got me this last year. Why are you giving it to me again this year? But fuck it. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's just so many of these really good ones. I'm trying
Yeah.
to remember that I do want to cover. Let's see here. The Real Kids on the Block #1, where it's like these two kids is like, hey, so and so, guess what? My friend asked me to like show up at this like foundry building, and he's like, hold on, that's not your friend. And then they literally like this is legit dialogue in a fucking 30-second commercial.
Mm-hmm.
That kid's not your friend. Yes, he is. No, he's not. Yes, he is. No, he's not. Are you fucking like y'all are paying real ass money to shoot this, and that's the best you could come up with? Is just a back and forth. And he goes, he's like, and then he's like, you know what? If you go see that kid who wants to sell you drugs, I'm gonna tell mom. But you're my brother. Yeah, I don't care. You're not going to see that kid. But like the funny part was there's no emotions, and they're speaking like they're out of breath. Like they have made these kids either run a whole lot before doing this, or they're making them say it like 36 times in a row, and they're just over it. But
Yeah.
like the delivery on them is just like,
Oh
ooh,
my god.
child.
Yep.
And then I don't know if it's just the quality, like trying to uptick the quality from like the 90s to now or what, but like you can barely even see like which kid is talking and if the words are matching their mouths. So it's like it's almost like they were just like, fuck it, we'll dub it. Who cares?
Yep. Yep.
But there's that one, and then there's a one that where these kids are on a playground, and this young black kid is like trying to play, and then like these kids just fucking get Thanos like snapped away, like straight up like if you do drugs, you could die and go away. And he goes to
Yep.
throw this basketball, and his friend just straight up fucking
Disappears.
vanishes.
Yep.
And then his
Yep.
sister vanishes, and then he vanishes, and it's like, don't die and go away. Which is like just is implying to young kids like the only way you're gonna die and go away is if you do them awful drugs.
Yep.
Like,
Yep. Oh my God.
the other one was that I really really wanted to hit before I just like kind of just rapid fire go through them. Where the fuck did I put? Oh, the kid doing drugs while he listens to his mom's voicemail.
Oh, yep.
This one was just fucking crazy to me. It was so wild in that she's just like obviously like this is the era of like latchkey
Yep.
kids, which like
Mm-hmm.
isn't a thing anymore. It's like
Mm-hmm.
obviously like his dad was like away on business and his mom was working late, so they just like toss the kid a key, um, and he just straight up listens to his mom's voicemail and like emotionally just starts preparing some fucking cocaine. Like his mom's
Mm-hmm.
like, I left you some money. Like you can do whatever you want with it. And he's like, oh really, mom? Like, roll it to snort some coke.
Yep.
Does that
Yep.
fall in there? So he like puts down a little razor and a little like plastic baggie full of coke and just like starts rolling up it's like a $10 bill, I think, because at first I thought it was like a single-dollar bill, and my note was like, Denise, what the fuck is Chris supposed to buy with a $1 bill for his dinner? Like, are you serious right
Yep.
now? And then I like watched back and I was like, never mind, false alarm. She gave him a 10. That would have got him like,
Yeah.
17 burgers from McDonald's at that rate. But yeah, he just like didn't give a shit. He was
Yep.
like, and his mom was like, I heard you quit the soccer team. Like, what's going on? Anyway, leave me a note. Or like, it's like, you
Right.
can fucking just talk to your kid when you get home. Like,
Right.
you're not
Yeah,
concerned
the
about it.
implication of that one is definitely that like this kid fell into drugs because he doesn't have a support system.
Mm-hmm.
Which again is not wrong necessarily, but
Right.
like it just was so dramatic the way it was done. And can I also point out that you said voicemail when that was definitely an answering machine
You're correct.
because answering
You're
machines
correct.
were what we had in the 90s.
Yes, you are
You're
correct.
welcome.
That is my fuck up. I'm just so used to calling it voicemail at this
Yeah,
point
I
that I
know,
just,
I
yep.
know.
You just, oh man, if y'all aren't familiar with what answering machines are, I remember having to buy like tapes and shit, and like
Yo.
we would get we got our only answering machine that we had. We got it from a Goodwill, and the person that donated it did not erase their shit. So we got to listen to all these fucking random ass answering machine messages from this person that we did not know, and it was just like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Shit.
Oh my God.
Sorry to hear about your aunt, I almost said Aunt Pedro.
Yeah.
But fuck it, your Aunt Pedro, fucking poor Aunt Pedro. Just man, that car really caught her in the hip. That really sucks. That was actually it wasn't. I obviously changed the name to protect the innocent, but that was one of the answering machine messages: is that a person got like hit in the hip by a slow moving car and was in the hospital.
Yikes.
But
Yikes.
yeah, so there's what the drawn who are your friends. It's like, hey KB, who are
Mm-hmm.
your friends here? And they're like kind of weird drawn. And the only ones that stood off was like he had a classmate named Ocean, and they put like peace and love symbols all around him. So I was like, oh, so y'all are just full on admitting that this kid was like
Yep.
conceived while people were on drugs because
Yep.
their parents are hippie and they named him Ocean.
Yep.
And then it's like, Kelly, she's okay. I was like, damn, Kelly's just like smiling through, like she doesn't give a fuck, but like, and then like, then I wrote, fuck Jesse and Jeff with his scribbled ass nose line, like, because he had like that huge line across his face. I was like, what the fuck? Let's see. And there was another heroin one that the girl is like talking about like the highs. Like they said it was gonna be the greatest high, and I remember this one like
Mm-hmm.
being on
Mm-hmm.
and during like after school shows. And I remember like thinking in my head as a younger person, like this is a white people nightmare because like the daughter is like throwing her TV and like just
Yep.
tossing her shelves, and her
Yep.
mom is holding her and she's like screaming, and I was just
Yep.
like, if this is what drugs do to kids, fuck that, I'm
Yeah.
out. Like
Yeah, I remember that. I remember.
So there's that one. There's one that was called Consequence that was just rough to watch. I was just like, there nothing I could think about that was funny of that one.
Yeah.
And then the one with the heroin number 4 commercial. This is the last one that I'll bring up. Is this lady? She like stands in front of a mirror and she starts to like remove like her earrings, and then she like wipes off. No, she removes her false eyelashes, and I'm like, okay, so what? People fucking wear makeup, but no, and jewelry, whatever. She takes off her lipstick, and I'm like, okay, still, whatever. And then it dawned on me because I remember seeing this one like super late at night, like, and so she reaches into her mouth and pulls out her dentures, and she's just got like
Mm-hmm.
fucking like 3 teeth, and it was like, hair. This is what
Mm-hmm.
hair. Basically, this is what hair does to you. And I was like, Jesus Christ, I fucking forgot
Yep.
that was a thing. Like it hit me. Like I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh shit, I remember that one.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so those are the only ones that I'll cover. Feel free to bring up other ones, but I forgot about like
Yeah.
the epidemic of people like huffing glue in the 90s. Like I
Yeah.
forgot that that was a thing, that like
Yep.
glue had to get locked up, like if it was more than just like your
Mm-hmm.
Elmer's glue.
Or like aerosols. Yeah.
Yep. And people like fucking going trying to go to Home Depot and buying like certain paints. They had to get
Mm-hmm.
locked up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I will just bring up one more to kind of end this,
Yeah.
and to give my own PSA.
Hmm.
So there's one where there's this young woman, and it's another one of those like they lied commercials.
Hmm.
But she says he said he'd love me forever if I smoked crack with him. He lied. And like it's just so dramatic because again, it's another commercial like that other heroin one where like people are yelling and screaming and throwing shit and like
Hmm.
they get arrested and like it's just really over dramatic. Um, but like the whole time I'm watching this commercial, I'm just like, okay, I'm sorry, but if anyone ever says to you, I will love you forever if you anything, I don't care
Yep.
what it is, run.
Hmm.
Run, kids, run.
Yep. Yep.
That is not okay.
It doesn't matter if it's a parent, if it's a
Yep.
friend, or like a. I
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
expound it like any family member that's like, "Oh, I'll love you if you do X, Y, Z." Nah,
Yep.
fam. See
Nope.
you.
Nope. That is conditional love and it is bullshit. Though I will
Fuck.
say, I feel like I've used this in like a humorous context.
Oh yeah, I mean like that. That's like, oh, like if you give me your cookie, I'll love you forever. Like
Yes. Yeah. That's okay.
that's
That's
not what
okay.
that's not the fuck we're talking about. Like fucking just take that person's cookie and be like, love me anyway, bitch. I'm worth
Yep.
it.
Yep.
But
So, yes, that is my own PSA is
so
guard your
yeah,
hearts, people. Guard your
yeah.
heart.
Guard them, keep them happy and safe. So it is time for
Ugh.
the prevailing segment here on Amelia and Sherrick. What are you doing, Amelia? What the fuck is this?
Woo! Okay.
I don't have a good headline this week, so we're not going to do both of those back to back. But
Okay.
this one is an image that I got from a BuzzFeed article that I was told that you did not take a look at. So I was like, feel like I'm being told to use this article, so I'm going to
I
fucking
mean, you
find a
didn't
different.
have to. I
No,
just
I mean
could
I
tell.
had
I
great
just
delight in it.
could
So.
tell that it was going to be really good. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, if I don't open this, because I think Steph sent it to our group chat. And I
Yeah,
was like, if I tell Sherrick that I didn't look at this, which I swear I didn't,
I believe you.
then it could be really good for this segment. So,
Yes,
all
and
right, I will.
I will find things like this. But I was just like, I have no shame if someone's going to be
Oh,
like, "Hey,
no.
Amelia didn't watch this." I'm like, "Good, I'll fucking
Yeah.
use it." So
Yep.
no problems.
Yep.
But feel free to go ahead and open it when you are
Okay.
ready.
All right.
So for our audio, since this is an image in an audio medium podcast, it will be in the show notes as well, and it's a picture from obviously from Twitter, and it's like the party section at like some sort of like like
Grocery
dollar
store or
store, or
something.
probably it's probably like Walmart or something like
Oh, it
that.
is Walmart because Great Value is Walmart. I'm sorry, I know that.
No, yeah, you are correct now that I look at it, and it's just like various candles. And it's like, like there's, your standard like red and blue, yellow candles or whatever. There's some black and white
Mhm.
ones, gel food
Mhm.
colors, and like tiny ones with numbers on them. And the one that is in the center is a candle it's like a sparkly or confetti style candle that has red outline, and it's a zero with 1, 2, 3 to my right, the left of the, if it's stage side. He says, "Why the fuck is there a zero birthday candle? It's not like you turned 0 years old, dumbass," with two laughing emojis. And I'm like, these are the fucking idiots that we have to deal with on a daily basis that
Yup.
fucking think they're so goddamn smart. Like, they
Yup.
try and go on Twitter for clout, and it's like, you didn't even think. Like, you didn't even stop to think that, like, there's a zero birthday candle so that when a motherfucker turns 10 or 20 or 30 or fucking 100, that they have like there has to be a goddamn candle for zero with your dumbass.
Oh
We
my.
could go on and on about these kind of people, but that those are for further
Yeah.
Amelia, the fuck is this? So
Yeah.
there you
Ugh,
go.
I loved
Like I said,
it.
it'll be in the show notes. Amelia does the editing, so she'll put it there. At least she does them for now. Uh, Ominous pause. But yeah, so it'll be there, so y'all can look at that and go, "What the fuck is happening?" But these are my favorite kind of things, is when people think that they're being smart and they're really just
Yep.
dumb as hell.
Yep. Same.
So there is that. So that's the Amelia. The fuck is this?
Yay! My
Yeah.
favorite bit. I love it.
Woo. So if you liked this episode, we are on. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us here on Anchor. Or the people who don't know that we are using them for the home because they don't care, but they are nice enough to let us run our podcast here. So thanks to Anchor. We're on Google Podcasts. If you go on our website, which currently is anchor.fm/ASWAYD, you can see all the ones that we are currently under. We're going to be, I'll do some research into maybe adding some additional ones. Like, I know, like, we're not quite on Stitcher yet, if we or maybe we are, I'm not sure, but there's a couple of ones that we have to like manually look into, and we'll do that
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
y'all. But just let us know what you thought. You can tweet us at ASWAYDPOD. That is Amelia Sherrick, what are you doing, POD, for podcast. We would love to interact with you there. Amelia called me out on our on the one that I posted on Friday, and I said one of us was listening to The Groovers in the Heart, and she called me out in the best way, which is with a meme with Shaggy. So you can follow us there. Amelia is at Shake Meets World on your Twitter, Instagram, and I am at A Black Sparrow.
All
So
right.
come find
Yes.
us, say hi.
Yes.
We will have another episode for you on Friday because we run on Fridays,
Mhm.
things of that nature.
Yeah. So with that, I've been Amelia.
I've been Sherrick, and hey, it's a really good idea to shred your receipts, not use them as bed lining. They're not very comfortable.
All right. Bye.
Bye.